A woman was changing her clothes when a man suddenly burst into the room, startling her so much that she began screaming loudly. To protect herself, she jumped onto the man, but he ended up throwing her onto the couch. Standing on the couch, the woman yelled at the man, calling him a pervert. When the woman's friend heard the commotion and rushed over, she immediately started berating the man as well. The man kept trying to explain that he hadn't seen anything, but when he realized he couldn't win the argument, he tried to leave the scene. However, he hadn't expected the woman's friend to call the police. The man's younger brother was puzzled to see his sibling being called a pervert. It turned out the man was actually a CEO who had just returned from overseas. He was simply unfamiliar with the company layout and had gotten lost, which led him to accidentally wander into the break room. Eventually, through communication between the CEO's brother and the police, the CEO and the woman reached a resolution. However, their connection was just beginning. One day, the woman discovered that her idol was giving a lecture and decided to attend. What she didn't know was that the speaker on stage was actually the CEO. The CEO was not only the owner of a cosmetics company but also an international makeup artist. Watching her idol, the woman became determined to become his apprentice. After the lecture ended, the woman eagerly sought out the CEO. In her excitement, she accidentally pulled off his hat, nearly exposing his identity. Frightened by the close call, the CEO fled in panic. However, this encounter only made the woman more determined to study under him. Remembering that her company's manager knew her idol, she went to ask the manager for contact information. Unexpectedly, she ran into the CEO again, and the two ended up in another argument. The woman failed to get her idol's contact information. Finally, in order to get closer to her idol, the woman decided to enter a makeup competition. She thought she could make it through the preliminary round based on her skills alone, but someone secretly sabotaged her work. Just as the woman was feeling devastated, the CEO appeared before her again and began criticizing her. He told her she thought too highly of herself and that the moment she faced a little unfairness, she started resenting everyone. The woman felt motivated by the CEO's words and made a bet with him that she would someday make him see her in a new light. As the CEO was leaving, the company hosting the competition tried to invite him to join their organization, but he declined their offer. Seeing that the CEO had been talking with the woman, the company thought they could use her to persuade him. They offered her attractive incentives to convince the CEO. However, when the woman and her supervisor arrived at the CEO's residence, they discovered him collapsed on the floor. It was then that the woman realized the CEO was actually the idol she had been desperately searching for all along.